this wonderful event series. It's called An Evening Conversation, and I have the honor and privilege this evening to speak with the amazing Marla Gibbs and the fabulous Angela Gibbs. Dear, dear friends, both are dear friends of mine. I'm so glad that you ladies are here. Thank you for joining us today.
Are we sideways?
You are.
Okay, let's see. I go through this all the time. Now, is that better or no?
Upside down now.
Oh boy, I tell you. Now
that's perfect.
It happens every time. I always have to see it. Okay. Hi, Melina.
Hey, Ange. Hey, Miss Marla. How are you?
I'm fine.
So good. Well, I'm so glad to have you ladies here today. This is going to be an absolutely amazing conversation. You know, we have so much to talk about. The world is changing right before our eyes. It's changed so much before, and now it is just going at a quick pace between COVID-19, between George Floyd, between Breonna Taylor. I mean, everything that you can think of that's happening that we would never think would be in this lifetime, it's happening right now. And on top of it all, we have this election coming up, and we have contenders. We have our incumbent, President Trump, but we also have Vice President Joe Biden, and his running mate is Kamala Harris. So I'm gonna jump right off, and I see the excitement with you in that. So I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions on that right off.
You want to start on Kamala Harris and Joe Biden?
I think it's a marvelous combination, and they both speak very well, and I think they're very well intentioned. And because we know Joe Biden from Barack Obama, then we have an idea where he wants to go, and we want to help him get there.
Yes, we do. We need to help him get them. Like we helped him, we need to help her get there.
That's right.
So what I wanted to ask you is, you know, as it relates to that, you know, it's now this specifically, this is to you. I call you Grandma Marla, Miss Marla. This question I'd like to pose directly to you, because you, having been on the planet and witnessing all the changes over the past 90 years, I'm sure you can remember how you felt seeing for the first time an African-American male being nominated as president, and then going on to president, and now seeing the first woman of color being nominated as VP. I mean, as you said, let's help her get there. And are there any words that you can just encourage people? Because a lot of our people, they don't realize the impact of this. And maybe if you could just share just what, you know, we hear stories, but just from firsthand experience, how important this is.
No, she's asking how important.
She was talking to you.
No, you said Mama Marla, right?
Mama Marla. Oh, because over the past 90 years, there's been such a tremendous change in everything.
Oh, yes. Well, everything must change. And it is changing.
It is.
It's doing its thing. We need to do ours.
Yes.
And she was asking, what did it feel like to see the first Black president and now the first Black female vice president nominated?
Well, because we're all one, this is what should be happening all the time.
You know what? You are so right.
You know, people don't realize we're all one, but we are. We just look different.
I know. I don't understand why people don't get it.
They don't.
No, because if you go to the doctor and draw blood, everybody's blood is red. Everything is the same.
That's right.
There was a time when they did not accept our blood because they thought it was different, but now they're happy to get it.
Wow. Yes, they are happy to get it. You know what? That's something I didn't know. I didn't know that we weren't allowed, African Americans weren't allowed to give blood. Really? Wow. You know, this world, this world is something else.
Well, yeah, we're really living in an interesting time.
I was just gonna say, Ange, what's your take?
Oh, it's just a time to step up. You know, that movie, and everybody walked away, Jordan Peele's movie, Get Out, and the saying that came from there is stay woke. Well, a lot of us have been woke. I think white America is finally waking up or pretending not to be asleep. I think there's been this complicit behavior on their part through silence. And now there is a reckoning that's happening. And as much as I don't like saying this, I'll say it anyway. Trump has a purpose in being there. I did not want to see it. However, him being there is making everyone that really does not, well, he's divisive anyway. This whole White House regime has been very divisive. And as a result, the line has been drawn in the sand, and people that want to be on the right side of history are finally standing with us and I've gotten more calls, I can't even tell you, from friends that are white saying, I'm done, I'm tired, I'm sorry. You know, and some of them always were involved and had a conscience, but it's like, we're not doing enough. One of my friends said, my boyfriend and I are marching and we're going to be on the front line because our bodies are not at risk like Black bodies and brown bodies are. There's just a reckoning that's happening. And so I think we have to thank Trump for that. I don't want to thank him for anything, but you know, God is in everything. As Mama said, we're all connected. Mm-hmm. There's a higher power or divine intelligence, I think, always that's operating. And it may not feel good. It doesn't look good. However, you know, now a nomination of Kamala Harris, I think also is a result of what's been going on. When we talk about George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, the Karen in Central Park, and then Breonna Taylor, that was this perfect storm of events where no longer could anyone pretend that the criminalization of Black men doesn't exist, that all you have to do is call the police and they'll be taken care of, they'll be snuffed out. And it was such an indignity, such an insult to our humanity. And I think those that have any kind of conscience at all finally had to stand up. And when the possibility of nominating the first Black woman, when that opportunity came available, everyone said, yeah, we got to do something different. So I'm sad that the deaths and the souls of our babies had to usher in a new thought, a new regime, shift a paradigm, or crack that other one in half. However, that makes us know that their lives were for naught, that their deaths were for naught. So I'm excited. And I felt like she handled her business the other night.
Yes, she did.
She was Kamala Harris.
Yes,
I love that Black woman look like I'm talking.
Yes, she did. Yes, she did. I loved it. Now to that point, you know, since Kamala Harris is now going to be, you know, she's in a leading role, and so we're going to switch a little bit to, what are your thoughts on how African American women are now carrying leading roles in television? You want to jump into that, Angela, or more?
Well, I think that my mother paved the way.
Yes.
Certainly one of the people that paved the way. We've got Bea Richards. We've got Diane Carroll. I definitely do not want to diminish their contribution at all. However, I'm also sitting next to a trailblazer who also had a lot to do with paving the way for our beautiful young Black queens to stand in these leading roles. Regina King will tell you that she paved the way for her. I remember my mother working on Scandal, and Kerry Washington just loves her. We were just talking about that today. I want to mention that my mother has finally been nominated for a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. So we definitely want to talk about that. Not only are these women, the Taraji P. Hensons, the Viola Davises, Niecy Nashes, we're just seeing so many women in lead roles, Ingenue Lewis, and even behind the scenes, writers, directors, that it's a wonderful time where we are now beginning to helm our stories. Who better can tell our stories than us? And so we're not waiting anymore for someone else to give us a role that gives us our dignity or our humanity. Those roles are being written by people that look like us and who have walked in our shoes. And again, we stand on the shoulders of people like my mother.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. You do, I do. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything that you have endured. And just so that that Angela and I can go on and stand up and be proud. And it hasn't.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just saw one of the comments about my mother saying a comedic genius. And yes, she is.
Yes. Yes. I don't know if you got a chance to see the clips that we put together.
Some of them, I don't think you got to see them, but I did. Yeah, yeah. People loved them, didn't they?
They loved it, loved it, loved it. Well, now speaking of both of you, here's a question for the both of you. Now, there's a uniqueness to the fact that mother and daughter get to work together in the entertainment industry, as in 227. So what, if any, did you find that you might describe either the pros or the cons of each situation, Marla as actress and Angela as director?
Well, I produced that show.
Yeah.
And it was a play. And there was a wonderful, he was also a legend. And one of my mentors in theater, his name was Edmund Cambridge, and who came out of New York and worked with the likes of Roscoe Lee Brown and Roxy Roker and Billy D. Williams, Isabel Sanford. He came with the history, and he came and helped us put Crossroads on its feet. And he brought me a script called 227. And he said, can you talk your mom into doing this play? And I did. And then she brought in others. And then it was a wonderful time because we had the school and we were in the hood where people thought we didn't belong. There's nobody in the hood. There's no one in South Central that's interested in theater. As a matter of fact, when I was doing the market survey, before I started the theater, I was told that all those people want down there is another PCP factory. Anyway. Yeah.
But a PCP factory.
All the people died. There was a gentleman at USC. I was doing my studying and doing a market survey. And there was a professor there that someone sent me to. And the white man who said that, and you can imagine what that conversation was like that day for me. And then being a young student, a former student of Howard University, where I was charged by professors to do something different, to take something back to the community, that just gave me more fire to prove him wrong. Right. So we had a wonderful collective of community artists. Some were brand new, some had been in the business for a little while. And then my mother brought the celebrity faction to it. And it was just a wonderful connection between professional artists and community artists. We lifted each other up, and that play became a hit, and a hit for so long that Norman Lear heard about it. And Mama can tell you that story. He told her, I heard you all have a play down there. So for us working together, Ed was the director, I was the producer, my mother was the star, and I'll let you tell the rest, but it was so wonderful that it became a series.
Well, actually, it was not the first time my daughter and I worked together. We started out together at PASLA, right. Performing Arts Society of Los Angeles, where Talanisha was a member from room 222. And
Mafundi with Roger Mosley.
With Roger Mosley, who was at PASLA, who talked us into going to Mafundi when PASLA was ending. And we went to Mafundi and did a play at Watts Writers Workshop we were both in. And then we were both in a couple of plays at Mafundi. So we've been working together for quite a while.
I saw a little question there that said, what is a PCP factory? Back in the day, PCP is called angel dust. People smoked PCP, it was a drug. And it's comparative to all we want is a meth factory. so to answer that question. But yeah, we did work together in other things. Yeah, we sure did. Watts Writers Workshop, we did Native Son together. Don't tell the rat story. And, you can tell the rat story. But we worked together at the Watts Writers Workshop, and then we moved over from there to Pasla. We worked together as actors. And
we moved from there to Mafundi.
To Mafundi, right. That's right. And then my mother went on to work in a theater with, what was it called? The Zodiac Theater?
The Zodiac.
With Margaret Avery.
Margaret Avery.
And, you know, just we kind of went our separate ways in terms of.
I was going over to another theater, she was moving into Hollywood.
She loves to tell this story.
She did, what was the name of the movie?
I have no idea what you're talking about, Mother. No, she's like, Cleopatra Jones. We were doing a play down at Mafundi in Watts, and Max Julian, who I would just love, I think he knows this, but I'd love to run into him one day. He came down there. He was the writer of Cleopatra Jones, and he wanted his woman at the time was Vanette McKee. He wanted her to be the lead, but they wanted Tamara Dobson. They wanted someone big, you know, and just kind of had that hero look. And so they didn't give him that, but they gave him other perks as a result. And one of them was that he could cast some of the other roles. So he came down to Watts. I was playing Angela Davis. He saw me and he said, I want her to play Annie. So that was my first role. He helped me get an agent. He, along with Roger Mosley, helped me get an agent, get in the union, and that was my first union job, Cleopatra Jones. So my mother's laughs because she says she was trying to get in on the studio lot, and I had a dressing room.
I was in the basement of a church and somewhere else doing my rehearsals.
She's so funny. And then, of course, it was Blaxploitation time, and movie after movie, we had opportunities as Black women or young Black women to play hoes,
and ho-hos,
and ho-hos, you know, or somebody's mama or a drug addict. And I just was tired. It was also during the Black rights movement and, you know, Panthers and Angela Davis, and I had really been influenced by that. And so I said, I don't want to do this anymore. So I went away to college because my mother said, acting is not relevant. I want to be part of the revolution. Changed my name, went to Africa and went to Howard University. Meantime, my mother became Florence on the Jeffersons. I was like, no, I'm glad I went. It was a wonderful experience going there. But yeah.
Now, you did Sanford and Son after Cleopatra?
I did Sanford and Son. Stan Latham was my first television director, and did Sanford and Son. I got to work with Fred Sanford. Wonderful experience.
I know he's amazing. He was an amazing.
This was all before I was even in the industry.
Wow. You
can imagine me saying, bye, this isn't relevant. I'm quitting. I'm going to college because I wanted some power. My mother's like, wait a minute, what?
Well, so leading into that goes into one of my questions. So, I mean, was that what your reason for getting into acting and producing? You seeing what she was doing, or it was in seeing what she was going through and having to deal with? That's why, or was that the reason that you did that?
About my mother?
And no, you.
Oh, me and my mother.
That's for, seeing your mom as an activist and for diversity. Is that what inspired you to, after you went to Howard and, we love Howard University, and became that and changed your name, which, by the way, what was your name?
Her name was Angela.
See, my name was Utamu. Later changed to Ayoka, Sister Ayoka.
Oh, Sister Ayoka.
What inspired me was a kind of probably an intersection of, because my mother wasn't really an activist quite yet. That started really happening in later years in the Jeffersons. Well, I want to say she was always an activist in her heart, but I wasn't seeing some of the things she was going through yet. It was, it's interesting, the collective consciousness. I learned later that when I was starting Crossroads, there was a Crossroads in New Jersey starting. Jumanji Theater in Atlanta was starting, and St. Louis Black Rep was starting. So in terms of this collective consciousness, we always talk about being one in one mind. I think there was a movement that was happening unbeknownst to me. I was 24, was that we were picking up something and acting on it. And that was that our images were not being seen, that art is revolutionary, can be revolutionary, absolutely can create critical thinking. At the very least, we deserve to see, I mean, there's more to it, but we deserve to see ourselves reflected. And, right. I also was in theater at Howard. So what really motivated me was, I think, coming out of the movement, the Angela Davises, I had someone named Leroy Jones, Haki Matabuti. His name was Donnell Lee, changed his name. People that I had read about, they were now my instructors, the Stokely Carmichaels and people like that. So I was already charged to come back and do something. And ironically, the building that we ended up using was the building my mother had purchased because she was also supporting musicians at the time. And there was a group called the Pan-African People's Orchestra led by Horace Tapscott, a phenomenal pianist. We had that building already. And when I came back, I'm like, can we use this building to start a theater? And ironically, it was a few blocks away from where we had started at Pasla. So talk about giving it back to the community from which we came. Because when we came from Detroit, we didn't know a lot about acting, but we heard about this group called Pasla. And then Pasla came out of the Watts riots. And Bantow Whitfield ran that, and that's where we started. It didn't cost any money. What did it cost? And I was $3.
$3 for a clipboard.
And I was 16, and she was 18, because she's 30 now.
Right.
So mother, daughter, sister. Anyway, and that was revolutionary. So I even came from a revolutionary theater in terms of my entree into theater, because Pasla was doing Black works, Mafundi was doing Black works, Watts Writers was doing Black work. So it only made sense that I would go to a HBCU and come back and want to start a theater that spoke to our people. So that's what really got me wanting to produce and be part of our stories.
Okay, that answers that question. Now, let me go back to that a little bit. So you having been in the fight, you saw it back in the 60s. And so I know what's going on now has to bring up some, please, I want you to tell me what it brings up in you right now. What do you feel?
I don't know if I want to say this out loud.
It's okay, you're among family.
My mother found a picture of me years ago in the field with the rifle, learning how to shoot. When I was Utamu, because I thought the revolution was coming and I was going to be ready. I'm about ready to start going back to the field, Now, I'm playing and I'm not, let's be serious. I'm not pushing violence. I certainly don't condone it, and I certainly don't want to see it.
Right.
I've got grandchildren. I have a son, grandson. I wept when Trayvon Martin, when George Zimmerman got up, wept. They're all hurt. I wept with Breonna Taylor. I've wept all along the way. George Floyd, I was numb. James Baldwin has a saying, I'm going to paraphrase, but to be Black and aware in America is to be in a constant rage, really. You do your best to keep lifting yourself, to keep God as your light, and yet you keep taking the punches. And, I grew up in the Malcolm X era, and there's a point where I want to stop singing "We Shall Overcome." And like Malcolm said, say, "We shall come over." And there's been so much talk about revolution. Revolution is change. And back in those days, they talked about revolution, maybe bloodshed. And my feeling is people in my generation that said we're tired of the bloodshed only being one way, right?
Right.
I just hope it doesn't come to that. I just know that I'm tired of seeing our people beat, killed, and bullied. And, you know, if I reach back to that time, you're talking about the Anderson Davises and the Soledad brothers, they weren't, and the Panthers, who were so proud, you know, and doing such amazing work in our communities. It's like, do we need to get back to that? And I don't know in what way. We're out armed. I know that, you know. I don't have the solution. I just know I'm
I don't think we're going to get back to that, because now people are waking up. People have come together for Black Lives Matter. They're out there putting themselves on the line. All the different races are doing it.
Yes, yes.
Because they understand the importance of it. So we're moving in another direction. So we don't need to talk about bloodshed. The only people who
to the people now and always. Okay, go ahead.
The people doing the bloodshed now become the people who are supposed to be taking care of us.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
We don't want to talk about the whole police department, because we know there are many, many, many policemen who are doing wonderful things. But there's still those who are radical and who want to be powerful and want to be over somebody, and they're still there. What happens is the police department should take the responsibility for what goes on in their department and quit trying to excuse it.
Yeah.
They know, and the teachers should do the same thing in the schools. When there's a teacher, they're going against the student, the teacher will tend to stand with the teachers instead of standing with whatever is right. So we need to stand with what's corrected, and the students need to do the same thing. Exactly. Everybody has a responsibility to stand up for where they are and what they believe in.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And again, I have to say, I'm angry, I'm hurt, and I don't think getting a gun, that may be how I feel. That's how, but that's not the answer. Like I said, we're outnumbered, we're outgunned. However, and I love this generation that's protesting, and I mean across the board, like my mother said, it transcends race and age and gender, that we're all out there. And I went out there with my mask on, and I did protest with my granddaughter who's 14, because she so wanted to be a part of that. And I saw this fury in her and this resolve in her as she made the sign about Breonna, and her post on Instagram. We let her have something that we monitor, but I mean, her posts are about immigration and transgender abuse, and there's an awareness now, I think, that we didn't necessarily have before, and that's because of social media. So I agree with my mother, though. I do think we have to figure out what it is we can do and do it. We have to stop talking. So if it's give money, if it's protest, if it's volunteer, what is it that we can do? And there's organizations we can join, there's phone calls we can make. I know I've made several phone calls to congressmen and senators and prosecutors, and it's, whenever we need it. When Sean King says, here, make these calls, I make those calls. No more talking about it. We got to walk the walk. And, as the day is, what does she say? I'm no longer accepting things I cannot change. I'm going to change things I cannot accept. What does that mean to you? And then do it. So, and also really, well, first of all, we know we must vote. We absolutely know we must vote.
Absolutely.
And we got to get out there and talk to people and make calls and volunteer. And so that's one thing. But then also, not just during the presidential election, we've got to vote every 2 years when we're talking about judges and, city councilmen. We've got to let people know we're not playing, that if you are not going to carry out the agenda of the people, then the people are not going to put you in office.
Exactly. That is exactly the case. I mean, people have to just know how important this is, and the
Yes.
phone calls, and that definitely helps. But what can we as artists do? I know when I was talking to James Cromwell last month during an evening conversation, he had made a suggestion about theater in the streets.
Yeah,
And just
I
kind of
love
doing
that.
like flash mobs, but not a whole mob, but just, pop-ups of theater in the streets so that people can actually see themselves. Because
Right.
I understand that, I too have been getting the, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't know, I didn't realize. And what can we do? And you're the ones that have the legs and the voice because it's been happening to us. But then I saw the other night, H.R. McMaster has a new book out. And he's coming out and he's basically in his book, he's saying, well, basically, and I'm paraphrasing, but when this is all over and when we can get back to normal, how do we get back to normal? Basically,
What
how do
is
we get back?
normal?
Well, in his eyes of what is normal, it is the way, the status quo of a Caucasian male at the top of the food chain and everybody else at the bottom. That was my interpretation of what he was saying and reading between the lines on Stephen Colbert. And so that it was just a reminder that, while so many of us, so many people are like, yes, 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 we need to change this. Yes, we need to move forward. There are still those who want to hold on to the old way of doing things. So like, can we as artists, can we change them? Can we make them see?
Well, those are the things that they consider normal because that's what they grew up with. That's what their parents grew up with. And that's what they were taught.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them began to think for themselves now and they see the difference. And they want to make a difference.
Yep.
I just saw a comment from my sister Faye Hauser Price. Hi, Faye. And the other thing she mentioned, and it's so true, is being educated. And for me, what that means is that you're my girl, and we talk, and you say, I heard this or heard that. We have to even go beyond I heard that. I need to go back and then research what you said and learn about it and know what I'm talking about, know what's happening out there, really start doing our homework so that when we are passing it on to our younger generation, we know what we're talking about. There was a young brother, I won't mention his name, but I got to work with him as an actor. He's amazing. And he came to me and said, can you connect me with an OG who can give me and my group of my crew some wisdom on how we as young men, young kings, can start doing something different to A, protect our queens, and B, to make a difference in it. And they're all artists, as artists. So I was able to put them together, because he wanted to know, we want to do our homework, we want to be educated. Another thing is I noticed, and so first of all, I love this idea of street theater. And we've seen a lot. We've seen the songs, we've seen the spoken word. There's an amazing young sister who I call my little sister, but Gina Loring, amazing. And she did some spoken word. She did some spoken word at the protest that we did. Anjanou Ellis put together with some other people, but also she, is reaching out and traveling with her work. I think as artists, as actors, short films, we can do so much to put the word out there in a different way, to use, again, art is revolutionary. And I absolutely believe that it can shatter some paradigms and wake people up. And then you have also, as a result of this, you have We See You White America, which is an organization that put Broadway on, exposed Broadway and said, okay, don't just be the white folks that put Black Lives Matter in the storefront because you don't want them to burn down your store. Be the one that really means it. So where are your, are you allowing Black directors on Broadway? Are the, designers? We're just saying, we see you. So what are you doing? And there's been a list of Black artists and directors and stage managers, et cetera, that have signed their name on a petition and said, what are you all going to do Broadway? And then I think there's, my girlfriend was telling me there is an organization called the Black Seed Project. So you're seeing these Black alliances come together in theater, and I know Ben Guillory knows about these. And it's the largest Black alliance, I think, initiative ever. And so far they've raised $5 million. I think their goal is 10. And they are becoming the seed project for, they're a project to help seed and fund smaller theaters that are theaters of color, specifically Black, because as we know, there's only 2% getting those billions of dollars, and they're saying that they're doing the very work that we're actually doing, right? And also, why don't we fund, as Black people, why aren't we funding our theaters? Why aren't we funding our artists? Why aren't we spending those dollars that we spend on, being a consumer? Why don't we spend those money in Black theater, and see, because they're struggling right now. A lot of times they don't have that cash reserve. They don't have those large subscriptions. You know what I mean? They don't get the endowments. So back in the day, the Auburn Avenue, Black Wall Street, there's been so many that were again bombed or torn apart through racism.
Exactly.
However, we can't let that stop us. We as a people are so powerful. And I bring I bring that up because when we join together, we really are phenomenal. And it's time for us to take care of each other and quit asking for somebody else to take care of us. We can take care of us. Absolutely. You used to say that all the time, Mom.
Yeah.
We give the power over there. Well, if they don't give us no money, okay, fine, don't give us no money. We have enough money to take care of our communities. We need to start doing it.
Exactly. We need to invest in ourselves, invest in our communities. Absolutely. And and more representation of us. I know it's beating a dead horse, but this was like a light bulb moment for me last week. Ironically, I was walking my dog, minding my business, just thinking about life and like, why is, just the meaning of, and just people, because, people think different ways about us. And even you all know that I have different lengths of hair, as we tend to do. And I get treated, yes, we do. But we get treated, I get treated very differently when I have long hair versus with this hair. And I could have on the exact same outfit and be doing the exact same thing, but I will get different looks just getting gas or going to the store.
Even from our own people.
Versus the long, flowy, all of that that's coming back soon. But it's just, and I realized it's because people in general are afraid of what they don't know. Like we're afraid of Martians, and because we don't know
the difference.
They're afraid, and it's because they don't know that we are the same, because the images that have been portrayed have been all negative. They have not allowed us to portray whole people, not just an anomaly show like one off or two, groundbreaking 227. Groundbreaking. I loved you in 227. I love the Jeffersons. I mean, moving on up. Yes, indeed. I mean, those were, the Cosby Show, those are shows to aspire to. That's like, yes, people, encouraging that.
They've never stopped running.
Exactly.
Running today.
That's right.
Look, every Saturday and Sunday, I watch you on Cozy TV and on Me TV. Amen and 227. Those are my shows. I'll just keep on watching. But I realized that it's simply because they don't know us, and it's because we have not had that exposure. So, but now
they don't know the real us.
Right.
They think they know us in the capacity that we were introduced to them as their servants.
Right. That's right. Good point. And something, that my mother always talks about, and you kind of just touched on it. I hit my knees every morning. I meditate as much as I can. Like I try to really do it every day. And there is something that comes from mindfulness. And I think that's probably been one of my biggest, I guess, how do I put it? It's where I'm probably pulled the most, because there's a part of me that's really angry and hurt. And there's a part of me that really knows I have to hold the space for the light. We have to hold the space for the best outcome. We have to visualize it, and we have to walk in it, and we have to know that it's possible. And I think when we saw President Obama, that was an expression or an outpouring or outpicturing of what so many of us have carried in our heart.
When we did what?
When we saw President Obama get elected.
Oh, yeah.
We're seeing it now with Sister Kamala Harris, again, outpicturing that vision that we're holding for a united states. And an upliftment of our people, knowing our brilliance, our genius, our greatness, and not letting them throw us off our game. You know, we call each other kings and queens, and we really have to walk like kings and queens because we are. And so I just want to say that I do, you know I come across like the girl in the field with the gun. However, it's in here. It's the determination. It's a conviction. It's a resolve. And yet it's a spiritual warfare, I believe, that we're in right now. And I do want to say we must applaud or at least acknowledge and recognize those whites and Hispanics and Native Americans, those but especially whites, because people of color, we've been doing it, who are standing with us, as my mother said, and whites who are challenging each other. That's where that conversation needs to be. They need to talk to them. Malcolm talked about that. Go talk to your people and educate them. That's not our job. And I see that happening, little by little, that it's happening. And I just want to acknowledge it because we need all of that. We need all of that to shift this thing from the dark to the light.
We do. We have to shift it. We absolutely have to. We're going to have a Q&A, a live Q&A with the audience. And in just a few minutes, this is a question for both of you. And this is going to the theater. Now, either one can take it or both. In your experience, having done both, what are the differences and similarities in film and television as opposed to theater?
What's the difference between theater and television?
And film.
The similarities and differences.
Film and television, you make money. Theater, you do plays and you have an audience, and it prepares you for television and theater. I mean, movies. When I was doing the Jeffersons, coming from theater, we had an audience, and then in theater, we had an audience, the same thing, except we were making money. That's the difference.
Okay.
I don't even know what else to say to that, because that is the truth. Except I'll say that I noticed, I'm so glad I started in theater. And I noticed, I coach as well, and I work with actors, and those that come from theater, there's a different gravitas to their work.
Mm-hmm.
Television theater is intimate. The camera can be intimate as well. However, when you're doing television and film, you can cut.
Yep.
And do it again.
Yeah.
Can't do that, no.
Go ahead. What?
Can't do that in theater.
So it's a wonderful training ground.
I had a young lady I put in a show we were doing. We were doing the Amen Corner. And I went in the back to change clothes, which I was supposed to do in the scene for my next appearance. And they lost a line. And they were trying to get somebody to pitch in to get us back on track. So they said, my friends was Sister Boxer in the play. And so one of them said, what you gonna say about that, Sister Boxer? She said, I done said what I'm gonna say. I done said everything I was gonna say. In other words, don't come to me.
Okay.
I can't save you. I can't save you. Oh my Lord, Mama and I, one day we have to tell you our stories, the sets falling down and all kinds of stuff when we were in Watts. But it really keeps you on your feet. And even though this really should be the truth of everything we do, because it should be a moment-to-moment ride,
mm-hmm.
Theater is definitely a moment-to-moment ride. You don't have a choice, right? The audience is right there, and if you drop a line, I know one time I was doing Tarian Black, wonderful Tarian Black. I was doing a play in Atlanta, and what Ceremonies in Dark Old Men, and I played the sister, and I come in, and I open up the Coke bottle, but it was hot. It had been in the refrigerator. But when I opened it up, stuff just flew everywhere. And you heard the audience go, uh-oh. It was all over me. But I was mad at my little brother. So I grabbed a kitchen towel and threw it at him and said, "Clean this mess up." And when I walked in the back, Tarian Black was just jumping up and down like, "Yeah." You got to come with it. So I think it's a great training place. But the bottom line, my mother really answered it. You get paid a lot more, So is it for the art? What's it for? Right? Both.
And it's so funny because when I was doing the Jeffersons, Franklin, who played Mr. Willis, he would be on stage and the audience didn't respond the way he thought they should respond. He said, "Is anybody out there?" He was upset. And when we came out, they gave him a standing ovation. He couldn't get over it. What they're doing is intensely, they're involved, and they're involved and they don't feel like laughing right there. They're trying to find something else over here. But whatever it is, they are involved. So that makes it wonderful.
Yeah.
It does.
Now, when she was doing the Jeffersons and shows like that, you got a live audience, so it was just like theater.
Right. Now, well, speaking of that, is there anything that you wish that as we talked about, the industry's changed so much, is there anything that you wish that we could go back to? Like, it's all good going forward, but something that you miss, anything, if anything?
You miss anything you want to go back to?
Nah. You can't go backwards. There's only the now.
Yes.
You can't think about going backwards. You can think about bringing something forward, but you can't talk about going backwards.
Oh, that's a good point. So is there something that we're not doing now that we should maybe think about that was in the past that worked well that we should bring forward with us?
Well, I don't have anything in the past. I do have some things I want to bring forward now that have to do with what's going on in the world.
Okay.
Addressing what's going on in the world. Because it's never too late.
It's never too late. Please share.
Say that again.
Share.
Would you like to share what you want to address?
Yeah.
Okay.
She said, share it. What is it that you want to bring forward?
Oh, what I want to bring forward is the plight of so many people who don't have faith. So they're perishing or they're going through things and they don't understand why they're going through them, but they don't understand it's because they're not exercising their faith or their trust. And they're trying to decide how things should go. And that's really God's job. It's not our job. We can't decide how they should go. We know how we'd like for them to go and we give a prayer for that. But all we have to do is do the work and know that it's going to be whatever we wanted it to be. It's going to be better than we even thought it was.
Yes, amen to that.
So you got to give that to the homeless.
Mm-hmm.
They got to know if they get, God works through ideas. They get an idea and they get up and move on it. The next thing you know, they're talking about when they were homeless. And that's what we want to keep going.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. It starts with an idea.
They don't get up because they decide they make decisions like that won't work because who's this and who's going to do that. That's not your job.
Huh. So you're saying our job is to just listen and do.
That's right. You get the idea. You make a move. You make one move, one step. God will make two.
That's the wisdom right
or
there.
You can call it the universe. God is not. He does not have an inferiority complex, so he doesn't really care what you call him. Just as long as you got the message.
As long as you call him.
Right.
You got the message and do the work.
Okay. The message and do the work. Well, thank you. On that note, because I am going to take heed to that personally. You just spoke to me directly. Because I have ideas all the time, and then I'm saying, "Oh, think about it." And next thing I know is somebody else is doing it.
Somebody else is doing it. That's right.
One of your ideas is how we met.
Exactly. It was what 10, 12 years ago. It's been what 15. It's been a long.
It's been a minute.
I only know that I'm 30.
She's still 30 though.
Right.
So that way it doesn't matter when it was. I'm still 30.
I knew she was going to say that. That's right.
Yes. And you'll always be 30.
That's right.
We got candles in there that say 30. We just keep pulling them out and washing them off and sticking them back on the cake.
I know that's right.
Oh my goodness.
Because you understand that we're all spiritual people. People
Yes,
think
sir.
that what they are here on this planet is all there is. But there's a whole nother thing that we come from, a whole spiritual thing.
Yeah.
And that's where we're going back, because there really isn't any death either.
Right.
We talk about death. George Floyd, he made a transition back to where he came from.
That's
It was a
correct.
hard transition.
Yeah.
We didn't like the way it was done.
No.
But actually, he went back to God.
He served his purpose here.
Right.
And
And his purpose might have been the catalyst for Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
That's what I was just going to say. He was a catalyst. That was his purpose. Well, we're going to jump to the Q&A now.
Okay.
And Jackie Hopper has the first question. Jackie, are you there?
Jackie,
are you there? Okay, well, we'll come back to Jackie. Sydney Davis, are you there? She has the second.
I'm here.
Hey, Sydney.
Hi. Thank you, Marla and Angela. This has just been so wonderful. And Marla, I mean, since you're only 30, I don't know how you're going to really answer this question. But,
it has nothing to do with reality.
I know. But my question, because I'm a singer, actress, but also a writer. And so I find that I think that we as people of color should write our own stories, but also for senior people in our community. I find that there's so many fascinating stories of men and women that are over 50, over 60, over 70, over 80. Their lives are more fascinating, but I don't see enough quality stories for starring roles for people that are senior citizens, when I think our lives become more fascinating. I think what we have to say becomes more dominant. And so as a writer myself, I'm really working towards writing what I think quality stories about senior citizens. I'm writing one about my aunt,
Wonderful.
In her 80s. And
Wonderful.
she's the star of that. So what I'm asking you as a seasoned actress, and for both of you, what kind of roles do you want to play as a mature senior artist, as a starring role?
I want to play roles that actually are inspiring, are challenging, and not just what we think old people are, because they're not old.
No.
I have a hard time when I can't see.
I think we lost you.
Okay, I'm still here. Go ahead.
There
Okay.
you are.
Oh,
I want
Jackie,
to do
excuse
things
me.
that are relevant.
Yes.
One moment. Jackie, can you just hold on one moment? Would you kindly mute your mic just for one moment and let Miss Marla finish, and then we'll come back to your question. Thank you so much. Okay, Miss Marla, go right ahead.
Go ahead.
So we want to have stories that are real. We know people they don't do any details.
Right. Right. They do surface. We need real depth.
That's right.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'm on it.
We did something recently during this pandemic where I was a caretaker, and my mother, I was taking care of her as a nurse. And I won't get into it too much because I don't know how much we can talk about it, but it was a sweet story. And that was about the pandemic and her not being able to see her family, me not being able to go see my mother. And so there's that. However, there's also, like my mother's saying, women and men that are falling in love again, thinking that it's over, falling in love, being a grandmother and losing the mother or the father, your child, and having to raise that. Grandmother and grandson, or grandfather and grandson, and that relationship. You know, being flawed and yet being resilient, you know, that we're still complex and beautiful and thriving and important, and not just the backdrop. So if we're a grandmother, not the grandmother who's in the background, but the grandmother who's raising someone or who is overcoming something, addiction. I mean, we've done a lot of that, but I'm just saying complex and resilient men and women.
Right,
And
right.
don't put that love in there.
Please put the love in
Right
there.
there for me. Right there for me.
For scenes.
No, right there for my mother, because she bad. I learned everything I know from her.
Uh-oh.
I know.
Thank
Trouble.
you both so much. That answered my
I
question.
think I missed a lot because I see her doing a whole lot of stuff I had nothing to do with.
That's not true.
Okay. Well, on that note, we're going to jump to Jackie. Jackie, we're ready for your question now. Jackie, are you there? Can you unmute? You're on mute, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can
There
hear
you
you
go.
now.
I'm still new to Zoom, so I apologize for having interrupted you. I didn't know I had done that.
It's quite all right. It's quite all right. Please go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, my question was, I know you had done some filming in Canada, in Toronto. Did you film anywhere else in Canada before, or just Toronto?
That was our first time shooting in Toronto. We did a film together.
Yes.
We had a ball.
A film called Love Jacked.
Oh, okay, I'm from Ottawa.
Yeah, it's on. I think it's Netflix. You can see it now. I've done a couple of other things since then in Canada, Suits, Bosch, but yeah, that was a ball. That was we love. Are you from Canada? Is that why you're asking?
Yeah, I live in Ottawa, the national capital of Canada.
Ah, okay. She lives in Ottawa, the national capital.
Okay.
Yeah, I love your stuff.
It's a lovely, lovely place. Toronto, Vancouver. You did something in Vancouver.
I did.
Right.
I didn't get to see much of it. But I did work there.
Thank you.
Yeah, in Canada. As a matter of fact, before we left after shooting Love Jack, some Canadians tried to warn us that Hillary Clinton wasn't going to win. And we were like, nah, it's not possible. And they said, well, you're welcome to come back.
Just a little quick thing.
Ever since.
Well, thank you, Jackie, for your question. And thank you for joining us from Canada. We appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you, Jackie.
Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Well, now JC would like us to ask, Ms. Marla, how was your experience working with Stan Latham as a director?
Working with who?
Stan Latham.
Stan Latham. I didn't work with Stan.
That
Latham.
was me.
That was Angela.
Okay. All right, Angela. That was a question from the audience.
It was wonderful. It's the only time I worked with him, and it's funny because every time I run into him, he remembers. But then, of course, people that know my mother know that I'm her daughter. They remember that way as well. So it was my first TV job. Stan made it fun. He made me feel secure. I was nervous, and he let me know that what I brought into the audition was exactly what he wanted. I didn't have to worry about trying to, have all this experience because I was new at it that I didn't have yet. He said, no, what you brought is what I want. He allowed me to play, and then he just shaped it. But he allowed me the freedom to find it and find nuances. And we were you can look it up. I think it's called the Party Crashers. My friends love to look it up and send me little, Yeah,
I want to see that.
Yeah, it was so funny. And send me little clips from it when they want to mess with me. Because who knew then that things would be memorialized through video and cable and YouTube. But he was wonderful, very supportive director, very creative, and he created this stimulating environment that we felt safe in to where we could play.
Okay, I think, and JC says thank you.
You're welcome, JC.
That's always so wonderful when you can work with a director like that, that just really allows the actor just to emote and just
That's
be.
right, yes. And then you you trust them, because if something didn't work, he tried this, but well, I wanted more of that. However, I didn't feel like I was boxed in, and if I said something, that one little thing, I could be fired. I've worked with those directors too, that you come in as a co-star, especially when I was doing co-star roles. You got 4 lines and you feel like I better not mess up.
Right.
And they don't really, sometimes I've been in directors that I felt like there was racism on set. Let me just speak to it. They didn't really want me there, and I knew it. And if you want to shut down somebody's creativity, make them feel like everything that comes out their mouth is wrong. You know, so you've got to be solid as an actor. You've got to be solid, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Anybody who's going to be future working with Stan Latham, just know he doesn't play games.
He's good. He's good.
Well, our next question is from Fredgie Noel. Fredgie, are you there? Fredgie? No. Okay, Carmen Hawkins. Our next question is from Carmen. Carmen, are you there?
Yeah, I'm trying to come. I'm coming. Oh my goodness, I gotta
we
go.
got you.
We see you, Carmen.
Hey, hey, I'm not ready for prime time. But my thing is that I'm not in the business, but I am a patron of the arts and has been a patron of the arts forever.
Yay.
So
Yeah.
I've seen Angela in some stage plays that I had to take her back on, remember Sight Games?
Oh, Sight Games. My mother was in that with me. Do you remember that?
Yes. It
remember
was
Sight Games?
fabulous.
Yeah, that's the one that was, what's the name?
That was the
What Johnson and Johnson?
No, oh gosh, she was in The Bodyguard and killed it. She's an amazing actress.
Yeah.
But Betty Bridges was in it. There were 2 casts. It was my mother and I.
Yeah.
Betty Bridges, and oh my God, I feel terrible that if you look up Bodyguard, she played Whitney Houston's sister. Okay. Why her name escapes me right now, I don't know, but beautiful person and actor.
I got 2 pictures of her with Joey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It'll come to me, but Michelle, something.
Well, what I wanted to bring is that, you know, in addition to your acting career, your mother has always been part of the fabric of the city of LA. You know, I grew up when she had Memory Lane over there on what was then Santa Barbara, now Martin Luther King, when she had her theater school and acting over in Leimert Park. And they're just, you know, that history. And I was wondering if have you thought about doing anything, whether it's a play, whether it's a book, or anything to share the history of your mother, that it goes way beyond and much wider than just her acting chops?
It's a lot of work, a lot of work, and very costly. So if you don't have a big bankroll, it's hard to survive.
Yes, most theater, Robey company and now can attest to that. But I think that that's a history that particularly a lot of the young actors here, you know, may not know about. So maybe we have to come up with some way to encapsulate that, you know, whether we get it on a YouTube video and you do it, you know, audio. But I just would love to pay homage, you know, to you and the young folks, particular in LA, that you have impacted and influenced through what you've given back to the community as a whole. And so I just want to, at this time, pay homage to you myself.
I love that. Let me say this, and we've seen it a couple times. Thank you, JC, and thank you, Faye. It's Michelle Lamar Richards. That's who played the other role in the Sight Games that you were talking about. She's a wonderful actress. I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I wanted to say that along with my mother getting the star on the Walk of Fame, she has a book coming out, and we just celebrated finishing it the other night. And and we're talking about the theater, and we're talking about the things that she wanted to see happen, that she did, and then some things that maybe didn't happen, but it was a vision she had. That was why it was called the Vision Theater, so that we can pay homage to her. And also a documentary that we've shot most of the footage on, but again, we revisit the theater and the memories of the memory lane. My mother, she employed so many jazz musicians. At one point, I think someone came and told us that you probably employed more jazz musicians in Los Angeles than anyone else. My mother, someone had said jazz is dead, and my mother said, no, we're not gonna let that happen. And so she, started this jazz club to help preserve our art, which I think is one of the things about Black theater too, is preserving our art, being the gatekeepers of our stories, gatekeepers of our music, if you will. So, yeah.
Right.
She deserves a lot of homage because she put her money,
Yes.
her energy, and her heart all in what she believed in, which was her people, our community.
And that's I'm speechless. That's the right thing to do. I think that's the right thing to do. Thank you. You put your energy, your time, your love, and your money where it is. That's what everybody needs to do. Thank you, Miss Marla.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mama.
Yes, thank you, Grandma Marla. Jermaine Alexander had a question.
Hello, hi.
Hi.
Oh, wow. I love you guys. I just want to say that really quick. Love both of you.
Thank you.
Hi, Naomi. So how was it working on the set when you did the revise of
Yes.
Jeffersons
Mm-hmm.
and working?
He said, how was it in the Jeffersons when they did when they revised it and brought it back? How was that?
With Wanda Sykes and Jamie Foxx and all them.
That was wonderful, a wonderful opportunity, and so many wonderful people in it. And of course, it breaks my heart because I watched the reruns so that I can visit with all the cast members that have left. And so you don't have Roxy Roca, but you know all the lines and everything that's going on in it. So I thought it was a brilliant idea to bring it back. We would have done another one, except Jamie Foxx had some other commitments, so he couldn't do it.
But Jamie loved.
He was so good as George.
He was. It was funny. And he loves my mother. Out of that came a wonderful relationship with the two of them, friendship with the two of them. And I want to say that my mother, even though she's 30, she was 44 when she got that role, 88 when she reprised it. So 44 years later, she walked on that set, knew all her lines and all the blocking.
Woo!
Still.
Yes.
How was it working with the director?
How was it working with the director?
It was nice. There was one mistake. He wanted me to go in front of the sofa. I originally went behind the sofa, which we had to work because in front of the sofa, it doesn't look like I see the apartment. If I'm behind the sofa, then it looks like I can see the whole apartment. So we didn't think about that when we first started. But it worked out. He was very good. He's very talented director.
Okay, well, I'm sure you let him know the way it was supposed to be.
You know she did.
I know she did.
No, I kind of let him go with what he wanted. I'm trying to learn how to follow instructions instead of giving instructions.
Okay, well, I guess he eventually figured it out, and while you were just sitting there like, right? But Jermaine, was your question answered, Jermaine?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I just want to Freddie's camera, her mic might be working. Hers wasn't working earlier.
Okay, so that means Freddie Noel is back. Freddie, are you here?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Hi, we can hear and
I'm
see
so
you.
nervous. I'm such a fan. This is wonderful just watching the two of you talk and be so open about your lives. It's really beautiful and it inspires me. I'm a writer director and I have a daughter, and sometimes I worry about my professional aspirations and my goals as a mother. How those things can kind of like contradict each other in some ways, just like the time management and everything, because I'm passionate about both. And just seeing how connected you two are and you finish each other's sentences, it's inspiring. So I wonder if you'd ever make a biopic about your lives together, especially in the 70s, like from what we've talked about here, just like the directions you were taking and how you kind of, or maybe, yeah, how you kind of left and came back and all of that. It just seems so interesting. Is that something you consider doing?
Listen, yeah, that's actually not a bad idea, a biopic of us in the 70s. Because I can really talk about her then. I can tell about when I got my nose pierced and she was like, I'm leaving you. What are you doing, right?
Oh,
and
wow.
then later on, she's like, I like that, I might do that. You know, I was the crazy child. But, and then when I said, my name was Utamo and I'm a vegetarian, my mother said, I named you Angela. But my mother was fighting against police brutality back then. I had a boyfriend who was beat up and who they talked into saying that he did it to himself. But my mother was out there distributing flyers and she was an activist, you know? So yeah, I couldn't have grown up in a better situation because I have a lot of friends who, and I won't say a lot, but I have friends who really had to fight their parents to be in this business. And it was like, go get a real job. My mother would actually get mad when I talked about a real job. She's like, this is your job, you know? And because there was times when it was just hard, you know? And I had to go on and do that because I was a single mother. But my mother kind of kept the fire burning in me, kept giving me permission to not give up, struggle if I had to, but not give up. You know, but the one thing I wanted to, and I want to shut up so you can give her some feedback, but one thing I want to say about, because I ended up raising a young woman who didn't come through me, but came to me. So I have 2 children, I have a son and a daughter, and she is a bad mofo today. She's the executive producer and one of the writers for Lovecraft Country on HBO. Bad girl, her and her partner, J Kidd. Her name is Sonia Winton O'Dompton, and her partner, J Kidd. Amazing. And I look at her, I look at my son who raised someone who also came to him and not through him. And he was my first grandchild, my grandson, Sammy. He later had a daughter with his mom. And when she was pregnant, I said, so do you want a son? He said, I already have a son. And so I look at my daughter and my son, and I'm like, no matter what's happened in my career, highs or lows, I look at that as my greatest accomplishment. And on days when I'm feeling down, I'm like, well, I did that right. So, you know, I think as you know, I know it feels contradictory sometimes. We bring those beautiful spirits here, and I think it's our job and our responsibility to make sure that when they walk out into the world, they're equipped with knowing who they are and that they have a right to be here. And I think that comes in front of everything else, and that the universe will find a way. There's been times I've had to sacrifice, and I was like, well, I don't know where my career is gonna go. I've gotta stop to do this. But if it had to do with my children, there was never really a question. And, you know, as they say in the Bible, I'm not a big Bible toter, but these verses keep popping up in my head, you know, that the years the locusts have eaten will be given back to you. So, you know, but I don't know if you want to jump in and.
Yeah, you can't outgive God. That's one thing.
Woo, come
you
on.
have to learn to be able to support where you are. Like I come from Chicago, but I said I'm living in LA, so my responsibility is to support LA where I am. Not keep talking about where I came from. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people say, well, I'm a New Yorker, you know. So ain't nothing good unless they're going back to New York. But we're all one. So wherever you are, God is. And you have to acknowledge that and be about that. But you also have to understand that you cannot fail as long as you deal with spirit. So we have to teach our children that they're spiritual beings as well as physical beings. And that and what the source is, so they can always respect and honor the source. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I
The
do.
source is the universe or God or whatever you want to call it.
You're right. And I got to throw one more thing in there real quick. My mother always used to joke and say, if you raise your children right, they'll grow up and hire you, right?
One day they may hire you.
Well, she was in a short film with me, but I want to bring my son Emil in because I talked about him as a dad, but he's an amazing artist. And it's my son that really reimagined my mother's legacy in a way where the documentary, the book, all of those things, he just lifts my mother in the most amazing way. And a lot of what we're doing is he's the one that's leading the charge. So not only if you raise them right, will they hire you, but if you raise them right, then the ones they raise will come back and uplift you.
Right, right.
Get him to
Come
write
on
that
now.
bio.
He is
I
so
like that.
spiritual. Let me tell you, he's my spiritual guru.
He is.
Oh.
You know Emil Molina.
Emil.
He is the guru, I tell you.
He is.
He's like,
He
have
is
you
the
meditated, mother?
She lost the keys to his car. And she was trying to find them. She said, I guess I have to buy new keys. And the keys are expensive when you replace them.
Right.
Yes.
So he said, did you pray?
I'm like, yeah, I think I did. I think I did. And then his granddaughter said, you think you prayed? Like, you don't know that you prayed in that? I was like, because I'm always like, my mother's always like, calm down. I was like, okay. So go ahead.
So you have to ask Spirit. You know, when I lose something, I say, thank you, Christ Spirit. I don't need it, but I really want to get to so-and-so. And I'll turn around and it's right there.
Mm.
So I got on my knees, like he said, prayed, gave it up, because I was doing a lot and I was moving around and I'm just going to have to buy new keys. That's $200-300. I didn't want to do that. And I got led right to it.
Wow. Wow.
He said, the next time I saw her, she handed me my keys.
I was like, there it is. You know, we joke about it and laugh, and I'm laughing. It's funny. It's real, though. You know, those things we learned about prayer and meditation. I mean, like my mother used to say, if you're going to worry, don't pray. But if you're going to pray, don't worry. So whatever your prayer is, I also chant, I believe in Buddhism, whatever your prayer is, and especially now in the times that we live in, not to practice
come back to the same thing.
That's right.
Yeah, especially now, we all need what we need from
Yes,
however
we
we
do.
need to
And
get
that's
just
why
that
I'm
inner peace.
30.
You hear
Yes.
that?
Because we're spiritual beings as well as physical. And
Yes.
as spiritual beings, we have no time.
No.
We have no limits.
You're right.
All you think about is what you want to do and have the faith in it and move. It's just like if you can conceive it and you can believe it, you can achieve it. And if you believe it, you have to have the faith to stick to it.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Stick to it.
Of course, on the way, sometimes you find out that you're on the wrong track. What you're asking for is not really what you want, but you'll discover what you really want on the journey to it.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
That's so true.
And I love this saying by Ruby D, God, make me so uncomfortable that I do the very thing I fear.
Yes.
So fear
you
is
had that.
not, no, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I think you had that on your Instagram the other day. Or was it your Facebook?
It's on my email for sure, so I can remember. People have hit me up that I've emailed and said, can I talk to you a moment about that? But it's like my mother was just saying, if you have a thought and then you start fearing, like, well, I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if I'm good enough. You know, if your dream doesn't scare you, it's not big enough, right? And courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is fear in forward motion. Like I know I'm nervous, I know I'm afraid, but because it scares me, this is the guidepost. This is where I'm supposed to be going. And I'm gonna leave who's gonna give it to me, how it's gonna come together, when it's gonna come together. I'm gonna leave that out. That's the universe. I'm just going to keep moving forward. My mother said, if you believe it, then you take action, you keep moving forward. And it's amazing how the universe conspires to bring it all together. But the thing is, you have to stay in line. If you stay in line, your turn will come. And as my mother said, and if it's not this direction, the only way you know to veer to the right is because you were moving in that direction in the first place. Mm-hmm. You can stand there and think about jumping. I love Lisa Nichols that talks about so many people stand at the edge and watch other people jump and think about jumping, but they're afraid. And what we're really missing, what we're really afraid of is that we'll leave this earth and no one will have felt our breath or seen our footprint because we did not live authentic lives. We were standing on the corner, standing on the edge, afraid to jump, so that's what you're talking about.
That's
moving
right.
forward. Yeah.
Moving, absolutely. Living without regrets, going forward.
Ooh, yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So our last question is going to be from Carmen Hawkins. And Carmen, please ask your question.
Carmen?
Oh, wait a minute. I'm coming. Hold on. Oh, am I on? Was I? Oh, yeah. What happened?
Carmen, it's your turn to ask a question. We're eagerly waiting your question.
Oh, no, I already asked my question. It was about the autobiography and memory lane and how do we...
All right, we talked to Carmen.
Yeah, we already talked to me. Although I love talking to you guys, but yeah, we can get to somebody else's question.
So biopic between the both of us, we got to talk about that. Thank you for that idea.
Yes, definitely. When is she getting her star?
We're working on it now. And look at our goal is next June around her birthday when she'll be 30 again.
But so you have to pay to get a star.
You know what, Marla?
People
I knew that
on you for free. They got to pay to walk on you.
Okay, so do we need to start a GoFundMe page, Angela?
No, we don't have to do that, but we'll find a way for community folk and artists to support us because we've got, we're in the fundraising stage now and we decided not to go that way, but I'll find a way to get to you. I don't know if Melina and them have your information, but there is definitely a movement among the community as well.
You can always reach me through your sister, Diane.
Diane Stevenson?
Yes.
Girl, that's my BFF. What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you ever need me, call. She got me on speed dial.
Okay. Yes, indeed. Okay. Right. We grew up in Detroit together.
Oh yeah.
You know our story. Okay.
Yes.
She used to come over to my house as a little girl and never have a jacket on. I'd have to fuss with her and get her something to put on. Catch cold. I fuss with her mother. Her mother and I worked at United together.
Oh, all right. Oh yeah. No, they're good people. Angela, their stories. I'm not gonna put it out on this one, but we got our Diane stories.
That's right.
Okay.
Well, on that note, we're gonna say thank you so much to everyone in the audience who's joined us, and we definitely appreciate your support. And as you know, as we've already talked about, the Robey Theater Company cannot survive without the support. We need the support of the community. We need the support of individuals. So if you would like to support and make a donation, please feel free to go to our website and click that donate button. Please feel free to go to our social media links and please hit like and subscribe to our YouTube page where this will be posted next Friday. So this evening it was live and it will be edited and it will be on our Robey Connect YouTube page next Friday so that everyone can share.
Thank you.
And the Robey Theater does such amazing work. So I just want to amen that and also, lead the charge of please, if you want to see our artists survive and our theaters continue to support our artists so that our stories can be told, hit that donate button and make sure that Robey Theater is here to stay.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. And also now I want to encourage everyone to please support you ladies, watch SWAT, because Ange, you kill it on SWAT now. So watch and buy your book, the book that you guys have just finished.
It's called Never Too Late, and you'll be hearing about that.
Okay, Never Too Late. Never Too Late, and the biopic that's going to be coming soon.
Yes.
Yes. You're going to need someone to produce that.
Oh, there you go. We got it. We know already.
Shameless plugs. Shameless plugs. And Ms. Marla, thank you so much for joining us. And Angela, thank you for joining us. And your star, we're going to work on that now. Is there anything else that you would like to talk about while we have this time? Anything that's coming up?
I think that's it.
I say that you look great.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes, you do, honey.
Cicely Tyson was the first one to wear the natural, you know.
Yes, I know.
And everybody had a fit. I was in the store and I was going up the escalator and this Caucasian lady was having a fit about her hair. And then when I did 227, I decided it wasn't a show about hair and everybody's hair was getting longer and wider. So I just cut all mine off. Then I was happy.
It's so freeing. It's certainly cool.
It's beautiful. That's right.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm trying to keep up with you ladies. You are beautiful, beautiful, outstanding, phenomenal women. And thank you for taking the time out to share your wisdom. And we enjoyed the laughing. We enjoyed the seriousness. We just enjoyed you. We enjoyed you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Melina.
And thank everybody who watched and all the questions.
Yes.
This was a great time.
Melina, let's not close without having Ben give us some closing remarks.
I was just going to say that. I was just going to say
Ben's
that.
going to
Thank
give us
you.
some closing remarks.
Yes, and I'd like to turn it over to one of our founders, Mr. Ben Guillory, if he'd like to have some closing remarks. Ben, please.
The closing remark is that it's just inspiration. You two, you know, my first television job in Los Angeles was with Marla.
Thank you.
On the Jeffersons, something about a millionaire. And I was indoctrinated into television by her kindness because I didn't know what I was doing very much, really, because I'd come from the theater.
I don't think you ever didn't know what you were doing, Ben.
I was going to say that. That's right.
But when I came, one of my first stops was at the Vision Theater as well. And that's where I found out more about Marla and what she was doing for the community. And in a huge way, she was the prototype for the artists that gave back and continue to give back to the community in a huge, substantial, and significant way.
Yes.
Thank you for that. Thank you for tonight. I'm so glad y'all came. The inspiration and just the good times. Just a rollicking night. It's just beautiful. Just beautiful. Thank you so much. So good to see you.
You're welcome. You're so welcome. Thank you for having us.
My pleasure, really, really. Hope you can come back sometime.
Oh, yeah.
Angela,
All right.
I'm gonna have something for you to do one of these days. Hope you're
You said what?
I say I'm gonna have something for you to do one of these days. I hope you're
Oh, please. I would love it.
When we turn the corner and get back to, quote, live theater up close and personal as we did before, come and work with us, okay?
I would love it. Love it. She said, "I."
Good to see everybody.
Thank you, Ben.
Welcome.
Bye. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
It was wonderful.